The forest was thick and green, filled with the sound of insects and the rustling of leaves in the warm wind. A team of explorers moved slowly along an old path, their boots pressing into the soft earth. The leader of the group, a calm and focused man named Tomasz, held a map that was marked with ancient drawings. For years he had searched for the hidden chamber spoken of in legends, and now he believed they were very close. Among the group was a young researcher named Nilo. He had studied Mayan history since his childhood, always curious about the mysteries of the ancient people. His eyes shone with excitement as he looked at the tall stone walls of a broken temple ahead. The temple had been swallowed by vines, but its sharp edges still showed strength even after so many centuries. "We are almost there," Tomasz said with a steady voice. The old records spoke of a throne, hidden where no one dared to look. The team began clearing the vines and stones that blocked the temple's doorway. Each strike of their tools echoed through the quiet forest. Nilo bent down to study a piece of stone that had fallen near his feet. It was carved with symbols, not just ordinary Mayan glyphs but shapes that reminded him of stars. He brushed the dirt away carefully, feeling as if the stone was trying to tell him a story. Inside the temple, the air was cool and heavy. Dust floated in the thin beams of light that entered through cracks in the roof. The explorers lit their lamps, casting warm circles of light against the gray walls. At the far end of the chamber stood a giant stone throne. It was tall, reaching nearly to the ceiling, and its surface was covered in carvings. The throne was not plain like other Mayan seats of power. Instead, it was alive with detail, filled with strange lines and patterns that looked like maps. Nilo stepped closer, his breath caught in wonder. The carvings were unlike anything he had seen in books. They curved and spiraled, and in the center of the throne was a circle that almost looked like the sun. Around the circle were small dots, placed in a way that reminded him of constellations. "Look at this," he whispered. His hand hovered just above the stone, but he did not touch it yet. The others gathered around. Lyra, a historian with sharp eyes, leaned in to study the marks. She tilted her head and traced the carvings with her fingers, though she did not press against the stone itself. "These are not only Mayan," she said softly. "Some of these shapes do not belong to their style. They look different. They look like something that came from far away." The group exchanged curious glances. They had expected to find a hidden seat of a king, but this was something much greater. Nilo could not pull his eyes away from the throne. There was something about it, a quiet energy that seemed to hum in the air. It was not a sound, but more like a feeling in his chest. He stepped back for a moment, wondering if anyone else could sense it. Tomasz gave him a brief nod, as if he felt it too but did not want to speak of it yet. The team began to study the chamber more closely. They found that the walls around the throne were painted long ago with faded colors. The paintings showed figures of people looking up at the stars. Some figures were drawn holding bright circles in their hands, while others stood in front of tall shining objects that looked almost like towers of light. "These people believed their king had a connection to the heavens," Lyra said. "Perhaps this throne was more than just a seat of rule. Perhaps it was meant to link the king with something beyond." Nilo touched one of the painted figures on the wall, careful not to damage it. His heart was beating quickly. He thought about the old stories of a Mayan king who had vanished without leaving a trace. Many said the king had gone into the underworld, while others claimed he had walked into the sky. Standing before the throne, Nilo wondered if both stories might be true in some way. The air grew cooler as the sun outside lowered. Shadows deepened across the chamber, and the carvings on the throne seemed to glow faintly in the lamplight. Nilo finally let his hand rest gently on the edge of the stone. The surface was smooth and colder than he expected. For a brief second he thought he felt a vibration, like the slow heartbeat of the earth. He pulled his hand back quickly, his eyes wide. No one else seemed to notice, yet he knew he had not imagined it. The throne was not simply a block of stone. It was waiting. Tomasz looked around the chamber with a serious expression. "We will set up camp here tonight," he said. "This discovery is only the beginning. Tomorrow we will begin careful study. Whatever secrets this throne holds, they have waited centuries for us. They can wait one more night." The group nodded and began preparing their equipment, but Nilo stayed near the throne. He watched the faint lines of the carvings, wondering why it had responded to him. Deep inside, he felt the first spark of an answer. The throne was not only built for a king of the past. It was built for the humans of the future who would dare to uncover it. And for the first time in his life, Nilo felt that humanity was standing on the edge of something greater than history itself. The night in the forest was quiet except for the hum of insects and the crackle of the small fire outside the temple. The explorers rested in their tents, but Nilo could not sleep. His thoughts circled back to the throne. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw the glowing lines of the carvings. He could still remember the strange vibration he felt when his hand touched the stone. It was faint, like a whisper, yet it had been real. At sunrise the team gathered again inside the chamber. Rays of golden light streamed through cracks in the temple roof, landing gently on the throne as if the sun itself wanted to touch it. Lyra brought notebooks and sheets of paper. She began tracing the symbols and patterns, carefully copying every detail. Tomasz observed quietly, his arms crossed, while the others measured the walls and recorded the paintings. "This is unusual," Lyra said after hours of study. "These symbols are close to Mayan glyphs, but not the same. Look here. This shape is repeated many times, but no record in Mayan writing shows it. And this pattern here looks like stars." She pointed to a spiral of dots carved near the top of the throne. At first glance they looked decorative, but when Nilo leaned closer he realized they were arranged with purpose. "These are not random," Nilo said softly. "This looks like a map of the sky." The others bent forward to see. Indeed, the dots seemed to match certain star groups. One cluster looked like the Pleiades, while another curved into a shape that could only be Orion's belt. The explorers stared at one another in silence. "Do you mean the throne shows star charts?" Tomasz asked. His voice carried both doubt and wonder. "Yes," Lyra said slowly. "It is as if someone carved the heavens into this throne. But how could they know the sky in such detail without modern tools?" Nilo's heart beat faster. He remembered how the carvings glowed faintly when his hand was near. Perhaps the throne was more than just stone. Perhaps it carried knowledge that the Mayan king had wanted to protect. The group spent the rest of the day comparing the throne's symbols with known Mayan glyphs. They wrote down every mark, yet many remained mysterious. Some shapes looked almost like arrows pointing outward, away from the sun. Others seemed to form pathways between the dots of the stars. It was like a hidden language, waiting for someone to read it. By afternoon the chamber grew warm, and dust filled the air as the explorers continued their work. Nilo sat on a flat rock with his notebook, copying the largest design on the throne. At its center was the circle that looked like the sun, surrounded by dots that could be planets. He noticed that the third dot was larger and marked with a line. Could this be Earth? If so, then the throne was not only showing the stars but also the place of humans among them. Lyra came to sit beside him. She glanced at his notes and nodded. I see what you are thinking. The Mayans respected the sun, but this carving is not only about worship. It looks like a chart. And this third circle may truly be our world. Her words filled Nilo with quiet excitement. If the throne marked Earth, then it also showed paths leading outward. It was as if the throne was not only about the past but also about journeys yet to come. As evening drew near, Tomasz called the group together. We must decide what to do with this discovery. If this throne carries maps of the stars, then it may be more important than anything we expected. But we must be careful. The world is full of eyes that would use such knowledge for the wrong reasons. Lyra agreed. We should keep this quiet for now. Only a small circle of trusted scholars should know until we understand more. Nilo listened but kept his thoughts inside. He wanted to shout that the throne was more than stone and that it had responded to him, but he feared the others would doubt him. Instead, he stared once more at the glowing patterns on the carvings. Even in the fading light of the lamps, the throne seemed alive. That night, while the others rested, Nilo stayed awake in the chamber. The silence was deep, broken only by the sound of the forest outside. He sat before the throne, watching the faint shadows play across its surface. Slowly, almost without thinking, he placed his hand again on the smooth stone. The same vibration returned, gentle but steady. This time he kept his hand there longer. The lines of the carvings brightened, and for a brief moment he saw the shapes shift. The spiral of stars stretched outward, and the dots rearranged into a new path. It was as if the throne was showing him the next step of a journey. His breath caught. He wanted to call the others, but the light faded as soon as he pulled his hand away. The throne returned to silence, leaving only the memory of what he had seen. Nilo sat quietly in the darkness, his heart racing. He understood something the others did not yet know. The throne was not only an artifact of history. It was a message waiting for humanity to answer. And perhaps, it was waiting for him. The next morning the forest was alive with birdsong, but inside the ancient chamber the air felt heavy with silence. The explorers returned to the throne with fresh energy, carrying new tools, more paper, and brighter lamps. Tomasz gave instructions with care, reminding everyone not to damage even a single carving. Nilo stayed close to the throne, his eyes fixed on the center circle that reminded him of the sun. He could not forget what he had seen the night before, the way the dots had moved into a path of light when his hand touched the stone. He wanted to share it, yet something told him the throne had shown that vision only to him for a reason. Lyra began to speak as she compared her notes. I studied the patterns through the night. They look less like decoration and more like coded instructions. If we could learn how to read them, we might uncover why this throne was hidden so carefully. Tomasz gave a nod. Then today we will focus on the symbols. Step by step, we will put them in order. The team worked for hours, tracing every line. But the more they studied, the more questions they found. Some carvings looked like ladders stretching into the sky, while others resembled circles connected by thin lines. No one could explain them. While the others puzzled over their notes, Nilo walked slowly around the throne. He let his fingers hover near the carvings without touching. Each time he came close, he felt the same faint hum within him, as if the stone carried a quiet rhythm. He wondered if the throne was listening to him. By midday the air inside the chamber grew warm. Dust clung to their clothes and faces. Tomasz ordered a short rest, and the others sat near the walls to drink water. Nilo stayed behind, staring at the throne. Something within him urged him forward. He placed his hand gently against the stone once more. This time, instead of pulling away, he pressed his palm flat against the circle at the center. At first nothing happened. Then a low glow spread outward from his hand, moving through the lines of the carvings like fire through roots. The throne brightened until every mark shone softly, filling the chamber with a silver light. The explorers jumped to their feet in shock. Lyra gasped, her notebook falling from her hands. Tomasz rushed forward but stopped when he saw the glow spreading across the walls. The throne came alive. From the carvings rose shapes made of light, floating into the air. They formed circles, lines, and star maps that filled the chamber like a sky inside stone. The explorers stared upward as if standing beneath the night heavens, but these stars were sharper and brighter than any they had seen before. "It is a projection," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling with awe. "The throne is showing us the sky." Nilo stood frozen with his hands still pressed against the stone. The lights moved in patterns, connecting stars into paths. Some paths curved around the circle that might be Earth, while others stretched far beyond. One bright path ended at a cluster of stars that pulsed gently as if inviting attention. Nilo felt the vibration grow stronger in his hand. He understood without words that this was no ordinary map. It was a guide. The others began speaking quickly, voices filled with wonder. Some wrote notes as fast as they could, while others pointed at the moving stars. But Nilo barely heard them. His mind was filled with the light and the hum. The throne was not just showing maps. It was speaking, though not in language. It was using images, patterns, and feelings. When the glow finally began to fade, Nilo slowly pulled his hand away. The light sank back into the carvings, and the chamber returned to its dim silence. Only the echo of the vision remained in their minds. Tomasz was the first to speak. "This is no ordinary throne. It is a device. The king who built this must have known more than any records tell us." Lyra's hands shook as she lifted her fallen notebook. "This explains why the chamber was hidden. The throne holds knowledge not meant for common eyes. It shows a view of the heavens far beyond what they could have seen at the time." The team fell into silence again, each person lost in thought. They all knew this discovery was greater than history. It was something beyond Earth itself. Nilo finally spoke, his voice quiet but firm. "It responded to touch. To human touch. Not to the tools, not to the lamps, only to us." Lyra looked at him with sharp eyes. "And not to all of us. It answered you." Her words filled the chamber with a new weight. The others turned toward Nilo. He shifted uneasily under their gaze, unsure how to explain why the throne had chosen him. Tomasz broke the silence. "Then we must treat this carefully. If the throne reacts to people, we must learn what it wants to show us. But we will not rush. We will move with patience." The team nodded, though Nilo sensed their curiosity had only grown stronger. That night, as the others returned to camp, Nilo stayed behind once more. He sat near the throne, his lamp casting soft light across its surface. He felt the same quiet rhythm inside him, as if the throne still pulsed with hidden life. He whispered to the stone, though he knew it might not hear words. "What are you trying to tell us? Why now? Why me?" The carvings remained silent, but Nilo sensed the answer was near. The throne had awakened, and with it the secrets of the lost king. Humanity stood at the edge of a mystery that could change their place in the stars forever. The following morning began with soft mist rolling across the forest floor. The explorers gathered inside the chamber once more, their faces pale with both excitement and sleeplessness. No one had forgotten the light that filled the room the day before. The memory of the stars and glowing maps still burned in their minds. Tomasz stood at the center, his voice steady. Yesterday the throne showed us something none of us could explain. Today we will search for answers. We must learn what the Mayan king wanted us to see. Lyra unrolled a set of old copies she had brought from a nearby archive. The papers contained translations of stone records found in other ruins. She laid them out on the floor and placed her lamp nearby. There are stories of a final king, she began. He ruled during a time of drought and struggle. Then one day he vanished. Some legends say he went to the underworld. Others say he rose into the heavens. What if both are true in a way we never imagined? The group listened closely. Lyra pointed to a symbol drawn on one of the papers. This mark was found on Stele far from here. It matches the circle on the throne. The writing suggests the king carried a gift from the gods. But perhaps it was not a gift from gods. Perhaps it was knowledge from the stars. Nilo leaned closer to see. His heart stirred with the thought. The glowing patterns he had witnessed felt too perfect to be imagination. Could it be that the Mayan king had once stood where he stood, hand pressed to the throne, seeing the same lights? The team began searching the chamber walls for more hidden signs. Dust was brushed away, and faint paintings slowly came to life. Figures of people stood with arms raised toward the night sky. One figure, larger than the rest, sat upon a throne of stone. Above his head was a shining circle surrounded by dots. "It is him," Lyra whispered. "The king. He is shown receiving light from the heavens." Tomasz rubbed his chin in thought. If he had this throne, then he must have known something far beyond his time. Perhaps he chose to disappear so that no one could misuse this knowledge. Perhaps he hid it away until the world was ready. The idea filled the chamber with silence. The team exchanged looks, each person trying to measure the weight of such a choice. Nilo walked slowly to the mural and traced the painted circle above the king's head. Maybe he did not vanish. Maybe he followed the path shown to him. Maybe he walked into the stars. The words hung in the air. Even Tomasz, who always held a practical tone, did not argue. They turned back to the throne. Its carvings were quiet once more, but they no longer seemed only like stone. The group felt as though the king's spirit lingered in the device, waiting to see who would come after him. During the afternoon, Lyra compared the star charts from the throne with the ancient records. She discovered that some of the painted patterns on the walls matched constellations that were important to the Mayans. Yet mixed within them were other shapes, ones never recorded in local stories. "These must have been shown to the king," she said. "They are not of our land but of the wider universe. He painted them here so that someone could one day see them again." Nilo could not stop thinking about the glowing path he had seen when the throne answered his touch. It had not been random. It had pointed somewhere, a cluster of stars shining as if calling out. What could be waiting there? As evening fell, Tomasz spoke again. "We must continue carefully. The king left this for a reason. It is not a treasure of gold or jewels but something greater. A map. A story. Perhaps even a message for all humanity." The group agreed, though each carried their own thoughts. For Lyra, it was proof that history was richer than anyone had believed. For Tomasz, it was a responsibility to protect. For Nilo, it was something deeper. The throne had chosen to show him its power, just as it once chose the king. Later that night, as the campfire flickered outside the temple, Nilo sat quietly with Lyra. The forest around them hummed with life, but their minds were still inside the chamber. "Do you think the king was alone when he found the throne?" Nilo asked. Lyra looked into the firelight. Perhaps he was. Or perhaps he had a circle of trusted people, just as we are now. But I believe he understood something others could not. He saw that this knowledge was not for one person, but for the whole of humanity. That may be why he vanished. To protect it until the right time. Nilo nodded slowly. And what if that time is now? Lyra met his eyes, and for a moment neither spoke. The thought was too large to put into simple words. As the night deepened, the forest grew quiet, and the temple behind them seemed to watch with silent patience. The throne waited in its chamber, carved with stars, holding secrets of a king who had dared to dream beyond his world. And now, those same secrets were opening once again, this time for a new generation of humans. Nilo lay awake long after the others had gone to sleep. He thought of the vanished king, of the glowing maps, and of the path that stretched toward distant stars. Somewhere, far beyond the forest, far beyond Earth, something was waiting. And he felt sure the throne was leading them toward it. The morning air was cool, and the temple stones glistened with dew. The explorers entered the chamber once again, but this time their eyes were not only on the throne. They had noticed something new the night before. At the base of the throne, hidden beneath vines and soil, there seemed to be a line in the stone floor, as if a door had been carved long ago. Tamash gave a quiet order. Clear this area. If the king left more behind, we must see it. With care, the group brushed away dirt and pulled aside broken roots. Slowly, the outline of a hidden passage revealed itself. A heavy stone slab rested against the floor, fitted so well that it had remained unseen for centuries. When they finally shifted the slab aside, a rush of cool air flowed upward, carrying the smell of earth that had not moved in ages. A dark stairway led down into the ground. Nilo felt a shiver run through him. He looked at the others and saw the same mix of fear and wonder in their eyes. We will go together, Tamash said firmly. He lit a stronger lamp, and the group began their descent. The steps were narrow, worn smooth with time. The air grew cooler as they moved down, their lamps casting long shadows on the walls. Strange murals appeared as they went deeper. Unlike the bright patterns above, these were darker and more mysterious. They showed figures walking beneath a sky filled with glowing circles. Some figures held objects that looked like glowing stones, while others stood before tall structures that seemed to shine like towers of fire. Lyra stopped to study one mural. She traced the outline of a figure holding a round disc. This is not a simple drawing. It shows a person carrying something of light. Perhaps the king himself, holding the gift of the throne. They continued downward until the stairs ended at a wide stone doorway. Beyond it lay a chamber larger than the one above. Their lamps revealed walls painted with scenes of journeys. People were shown stepping through arches of light, walking into star-filled skies. The explorers entered slowly, their footsteps echoing in the silence. At the center of the chamber stood several stone pillars. Unlike the throne, these pillars were plain in shape but carved with grooves and holes as if designed to hold something unseen. Nilo felt drawn to them. He placed his lamp near one pillar and studied its carvings. They looked like waves, spirals of sound and movement. He noticed something unusual. When he spoke softly, the grooves seemed to reflect his voice, carrying it with a strange echo. Listen, Nilo said. He sang a simple note, and the pillars answered with a soft hum, as if the stone itself had awakened. The group stared in amazement. Lyra stepped forward and added her own voice. The pillars responded again, their echoes mixing with the glow of the lamps. Soon the entire chamber seemed alive with gentle sound. It reacts to music, Lyra whispered. The builders wanted humans to use their voices here. Encouraged, the group sang together. Their voices were uneven at first, but as they joined in harmony, the chamber responded with greater power. The walls shimmered faintly, and patterns of light appeared, moving across the murals. Suddenly the paintings were no longer still. They shifted and glowed, showing moving images. Figures stepped from stone into shining paths, stars swirled into spirals, and doors of light opened before them. The explorers stood in awe, watching the story unfold. "This is the journey," Tamash said softly. "The king did not vanish into legend. He passed through something greater. A doorway to the stars." The images faded slowly, leaving only the still paintings once more. The echoes of their voices lingered like a memory in the air. The explorers stood in silence for a long moment. Each of them felt the weight of what they had just seen. The hidden chamber was more than history. It was a record of a path that humans had once been shown but had not followed. Nilo's eyes returned to the pillars. He could not shake the feeling that they were more than storytellers. Perhaps they were also guides, waiting for the right moment to open a new step of the journey. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Tamash placed his hand on one of the pillars. "We must be careful. This place is not meant for us alone. It is meant for all of humanity. The king trusted the future. We must do the same." They climbed back up the narrow stairway into the brighter chamber of the throne. But as Nilo turned to look one last time into the hidden depths, he felt the call of the journey still waiting. The murals of moving stars, the echo of human voices, and the silent promise of the pillars remained with him. That night, while the forest sang its endless song, Nilo dreamed of walking through arches of light. In his dream, the throne glowed like the sun, and the pillars below rose around him like guardians. Ahead stretched a shining path into the stars. When he woke, he knew the journey was far from over. The throne had not revealed all its secrets yet. The hidden passage had shown them the story of the king, but Nilo felt certain there was more. Something deeper waited, perhaps even beyond Earth itself. And for the first time, he no longer wondered why the throne had responded to him. He began to understand. It was not calling him alone. It was calling humanity forward. The forest morning was cool and quiet, but inside the temple, the explorers felt a restless energy. The throne and the hidden chambers had already shown them wonders, yet Tamash believed there was more. He gathered the group around the throne and spoke with calm strength. "We have seen the murals and the stars. We have seen how sound and music awaken the chambers. But I believe there is still another step. The king would not have built such a place without leaving a final test. Today we search for it." The group agreed. They circled the throne, running their hands along the carvings, searching for something they had missed. At last, Lyra noticed three faint shapes near the base of the throne. They were not decorative. They were shallow impressions, almost like handprints carved into the stone. "These were made for people," she said, pointing at them. "Three must stand together." Nilo felt his chest tighten. He remembered the glowing path he had seen when his hand touched the throne alone. What would happen if three people placed their hands there at once? Tamash stepped forward without hesitation. "Then let us try." He placed his hand on one of the prints. Lyra took the second. After a pause, Nilo slowly pressed his hand onto the third. The stone was cool, but as soon as all three touched it, a soft vibration spread through the chamber. The carvings lit up with silver light, brighter than before. The throne hummed with energy, and beams of light stretched across the floor to the chamber walls. Suddenly, the murals moved again, but this time they showed something new. Figures of people stood before a shining path, yet the path did not open until three joined their hands together. Only then did the arch of light appear, leading into the stars. Lyra's voice trembled as she spoke. It is unity. The throne responds not to one person, but to many working together. The hum grew stronger. The explorers felt the stone beneath their feet shift gently. A circle of light formed around the throne, and symbols began to move across the walls like rivers of glowing script. The light shaped itself into patterns. At first it was confusing, but slowly the team understood. Each person's movement mattered. When Nilo shifted his hand, the glowing path on the wall bent in one direction. When Lyra moved, it curved another way. Tamash's steady hold balanced the lines, keeping them from fading. It is a test, Tamash said calmly. We must guide the light together. For several long minutes they focused. The lines twisted and changed, threatening to break apart, but whenever the three moved in harmony, the path grew clear and strong. Sweat formed on their brows, but they did not let go. Finally, the glowing path reached its end, and the chamber filled with a gentle golden light. The hum softened until it was almost like a heartbeat. Then, words appeared across the wall, written in many human languages. The throne waits for those who seek with unity. The explorers stood in silence, reading the message again and again. It was simple, yet it carried the weight of centuries. The Mayan king had not built this place for power or control. He had built it to remind humanity that their strength came not from one ruler but from many hearts working as one. Lyra's voice was soft. This is why he vanished. He understood that such knowledge could not belong to one alone. It was meant for those who choose to walk together. Nilo stepped back, his hand trembling as he lowered it from the stone. His chest was full, not only with wonder but with understanding. He realized why the throne had responded to him. It was never about him alone. It was about people choosing trust, cooperation, and harmony. The light faded slowly, leaving the chamber quiet once more. The handprints remained on the throne, but they no longer glowed. The test had been passed. Tamash looked at his team with pride. We did not fail. The throne accepted us. Now we must decide what to do with this gift. The group left the chamber in silence, their minds full of what they had seen. Outside, the forest stretched endlessly, green and alive. Yet to Nilo, the world felt different now. The stars above no longer seemed distant. They felt closer, as if the throne had drawn Earth into a greater family. That night, as they sat near the campfire, Nilo could not stop thinking of the golden words. He repeated them quietly to himself. The throne waits for those who seek with unity. He looked around at his companions, each sitting in the firelight, each carrying their own thoughts. For the first time, he truly understood what the king had left behind. Not only a map, not only a throne, but a lesson for the future. Humanity would reach the stars not by one person's strength, but by walking the path together. And somewhere beyond the forest, beyond Earth, that path was waiting to be followed. The explorers returned to the throne one last time, their steps quiet on the stone floor. The chamber was calm, filled only with the soft sound of their breathing and the faint echo of the forest outside. Nilo, Lyra, and Tamash approached together, remembering the test of unity that had awakened the throne. Nilo placed his hand on the center of the stone, Lyra on the second imprint, and Tamash on the third. The throne responded instantly. Light filled the chamber, more brilliant than any day before. This time the glow spread to the walls, the ceiling, and the floor, turning the room into a sky of moving stars. The explorers watched in awe as shapes of planets, moons, and constellations appeared. The throne seemed to breathe with life, as if it were welcoming them into a new world of understanding. Then the images shifted. A vast map unfolded before them, showing stars beyond their galaxy. Lines connected distant systems, marking pathways as if a guide had been drawn for travelers long ago. Nilo's eyes widened. This was more than knowledge. It was a gift. Lyra stepped closer, tracing one of the glowing paths. "These are routes," she whispered. "Safe paths for travel. Whoever left this wanted to help people reach the stars." Tomasz nodded. "Not for conquest. Not for power. For discovery. For learning." The chamber vibrated softly under their feet. The throne hummed a gentle rhythm, and the golden words appeared again on the walls, larger this time: "The throne waits for those who seek with unity. The stars belong to those who walk together." Nilo looked at his companions and felt a deep warmth. The throne had shown them that humans were special not because of strength or wealth, but because of cooperation, creativity, and courage. The Mayan king had understood this centuries ago and had built the throne to teach it to the future. Then a new vision appeared above the throne. Figures of people, long gone, walked along glowing paths into the sky. Some held hands, others carried objects of light. The images moved as if alive, showing a journey of trust and teamwork. Lyra gasped. The king left more than maps. He left an example. A story of how humans must travel together. The light grew brighter, surrounding the explorers in a warm glow. For a moment, they felt weightless, as if the chamber itself had lifted them toward the stars. Nilo realized the throne was giving them a choice. It was offering knowledge, guidance, and the inspiration to explore beyond Earth, but only for those who would continue to walk in unity. The images slowly faded, leaving behind the quiet of the chamber. The glowing maps disappeared, but the feeling remained. The explorers understood that the gift was now in their hands. They could share it, protect it, and use it to guide humanity forward. Tomasz looked at Nilo and Lyra. "We have seen what the king left for us. It is not only treasure or secrets. It is hope. And responsibility. The knowledge of the stars is ours to guard and to share wisely." Nilo smiled. He felt proud and humble at the same time. The throne had not chosen him for fame or glory. It had chosen him because he was willing to seek, to wonder, and to work with others. Lyra placed her hand lightly on the throne. "We have been given a chance to understand what the king wanted. We must remember that the gift is not for one person alone. It is for humanity." The explorers stepped back and looked around the chamber. The throne remained silent, but its carvings seemed to shimmer softly, as if nodding in approval. The murals showed stars, paths, and people moving together. The lesson was clear: the universe was vast, full of mysteries, and full of wonders, but only those who acted together could reach it. Outside, the forest was quiet under the rising sun. The explorers left the temple slowly, carrying their notes, sketches, and memories. Every step felt lighter than before, filled with the promise of discovery and hope. Nilo paused at the edge of the temple. He looked back at the throne, feeling its presence still in his mind. The king had waited for centuries to share this gift. Humanity had finally found it, and now it was their responsibility to use it with wisdom and care. As they walked into the forest, the explorers felt connected not only to each other but to all of humanity, and even to the stars above. The throne had revealed a truth that would stay with them forever: Humans were chosen not for power, but for their ability to wonder, to create, and to walk together toward the unknown. The forest around them seemed brighter, and the sky above clearer. The stars, distant yet inviting, seemed to whisper a quiet promise. The path to the universe had been revealed. The journey was just beginning. Nilo looked up, a smile on his face. The king kept his secret for a reason, he said softly. And now, it is time for us to follow it. The explorers walked onward, ready to carry the gift of the throne into the world. Humanity's place among the stars was no longer a dream, it was a promise waiting to be fulfilled.